Have you ever stood where ancient stone and silent air remember more than we do? Welcome to Unearthed Secrets, a quiet journey through places the world forgot to move. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now, slow your breath and follow the hush of history waiting just beneath the horizon. The hands that held the horizon. Dawn arrives slowly in Ushkuli, as though light itself needs time to breathe in the thin air. It rolls across the high Caucasus like a quiet tide, soft and pale at first, brushing frost-tipped grass and rooftops of slate before spilling into the valleys below. Shadows pull themselves gently from the stone towers, long-limbed and reluctant, as if they slept deeply through the night and are not yet ready to wake. Here, above the clouds, and closer to the sky than to any city, the wind moves differently. It does not rush or force its way. It glides, it listens, it remembers. It drifts past ancient towers rising from the mountain soil like the vertebrae of some great stone creature, watching the centuries pass beneath them. These towers, proud, solemn, towering from medieval days to now, stand not as relics but as guardians. Some say the towers were built to watch for danger, others say they were built to feel closer to heaven. The mountain does not argue with either. In Ushkuli, time does not march, it lingers. The past is not behind, it hums beneath every cold stone, rests in every worn footpath, floats in every thread of mist as it curls around the towers and slips away over distant peaks. In this place, the world feels older than language, older than memory, and yet you feel welcomed, as though the land has been waiting for you without impatience, without expectation, simply waiting. Far below, a river hums, threading the valley like silver ribbon, fed by glaciers that gleam faintly in the early light. Snow clings to the highest peaks even in summer, crisp and eternal, as if the sky set its own handwriting upon the mountains and left it there forever. The earth here is both young and ancient, carved by fire and ice, softened by moss and sheep paths, hardened by winters that once lasted lifetimes. The villagers wait quietly. A wooden door creaks open. A rooster calls once and then again, as if reminding himself where he stands. A woman in wool shawl steps into the morning air and exhales a plume of warmth, a small cloud that drifts up as though seeking the first sunbeam. A boy runs to gather water from the spring, breath quick, steps light. Life begins here not with hurry, but with rhythm. A rhythm older than clocks, older than calendars, older perhaps than memory itself. And rising around these lives stand the towers, stone ribs, stone spines, stone fingers that once held vigil against enemies and storms and time. Some lean slightly now, settled into the earth like old men resting on staffs. Some stand nearly perfect, edges sharp against the sky. Some crumble gently, wildflowers pushing through the cracks, as though nature too wishes to remember the shape of protection. They are called koshki, stone houses that reach and watch and endure. To walk among them is to feel every footstep softened by history. Grass bends quietly, carrying dew that catches light in tiny ephemeral jewels. Wooden balconies creak under the weight of no one at all, as though rehearsing for footsteps that have not yet returned. Livestock bells chime faintly from distant slopes, each sound dissolving slowly into the morning air, like memory dissolving into dream. You approach one of the towers. Its stones are cool beneath your palm, damp from night fog, rough in some places and smooth in others, worn by centuries of wind and touch. You trace a groove in the stone, uncertain whether it was made by human hands or simply by rain insisting across lifetimes. Either way, it feels deliberate. Above you, a raven circles once, slow and deliberate, its wings drawing quiet arcs in the thin sky. It calls once, a low sound that echoes off the stone faces and then falls silent, respectful. The towers do not speak in sound, they speak in presence. A herder passes, staff in hand, wool cloak draped like a mountain shadow around him. He nods, soft and brief, a greeting without words. Conversation is not needed here. The land has long learned to speak in quiet. The sheep move behind him like a slow river of wool, hooves tapping gently, bells chiming in irregular rhythm that somehow feels melodic against the backdrop of wind and stone. Farther up the path, a stream crosses the trail, its water clear and cold, sliding over stones smoothed by centuries of thaw. If you kneel to drink, it tastes of snow and silence, clean and deep, carrying the memory of heights where nothing grows but sky. You drink slowly, feeling the chill trace its path through your throat, grounding you, anchoring you to this ridge between worlds. Ushkuli is not a place one simply sees. It is a place one sinks into, breath by breath. The towers were raised by hands that feared winter and war, hands that prayed each morning that the valley would remain whole, that the mountains would not swallow the world. But they did not build in fear alone. They built in hope. Hope that life could endure, that families would gather around hearths, that children would laugh and run and grow strong in the high winds, that tomorrow would come even if the night arrived fierce and long. They built these towers not only as defense, but as trust, trust in stone, trust in earth, trust in the sky itself to bear witness. And as centuries passed, storms clawed at the towers, snow crowned them, ice wrapped their bases, and sunlight warmed them again and again. Yet they stand. They do not crumble in story, they rest in truth. Even when history turned loud, when borders shifted, when empires rose and fell, when roads cut new paths through old ground, the towers remained still, unmoved but not untouched. Every storm that kissed these stones left polish and patience. Every dawn that touched them left warmth and memory. You continue walking through the village, past houses built of the same mountain stone, smoke curling from chimneys, low laughter drifting from an open doorway. A woman pours warm milk into a clay bowl for a child. A man sharpens a tool slowly, rhythm steady, gaze soft. No one rushes. Nothing is frantic. Time stretches here like a shawl knitted patiently and worn lightly across shoulders. Above the village, the highest peaks glimmer. Snowfields shine like silver sheets. Clouds gather and unravel across them in slow ceremony, like dancers tracing ancient steps. The horizon is not a line here. It is a hand cupped to cradle the world. And the towers rise like fingers of that hand. Stone hands that held the horizon, held the wind, held the hope of those who built them, and the breath of those who stand here now. In the quiet, a truth settles gently. These stones do not remember wars. They remember mornings. They remember children chasing goats through grass. They remember bread rising by firelight. They remember songs sung low while snow tapped the windows. They remember life, simple, enduring, soft in the ways that matter. You sit by one tower, back resting against its base. Grass cushions you. The mountain beneath feels alive, warm even in the chill air. The wind brushes your cheek, a slow, thoughtful touch. Somewhere nearby, someone hums, a lullaby perhaps, or an old mountain tune. In this place, even sound seems to kneel. You close your eyes, the stone breathes, the mountain breathes, you breathe, and for a long moment, the horizon holds you, and you hold it in return. When your eyes open again, the world has shifted, not in shape, but in warmth. The sun has climbed higher, its light now a pale gold that settles softly across rooftops and hillside, catching in the wool of grazing sheep, turning dew into tiny fragments of stars scattered across the grass. The mountain peaks glow like embers beneath a thin veil of cloud, as though day arrives here not as a command, but as a blessing that unfurls gently across the valley. Children appear like young deer at the edge of sight, darting between towers, voices rising in playful echoes before dissolving again into wind. Their laughter feels like a promise the land has kept, that even in places built for defense, life finds ways to bloom bright and unafraid. A bell rings somewhere, a simple sound, steady and low, echoing against stone and returning softer than it left. A cow shifts its weight, a horse snorts in the distance, a shepherd whistles a tune, old and unhurried, as though the melody has known these slopes for centuries. You rise slowly, brushing grass from your clothes, feeling the quiet strength of the tower at your back. There is no weight in moving, the village does not hold you, it simply accompanies you as you walk. Your steps follow a path worn into the earth, stones pressed smooth by generations moving with purpose. Only the mountains fully understand. It leads upward, toward a ridge where the world opens wider still. As you climb, air thins gently, becoming crisper, clearer, charged with that subtle electricity that exists only in high places and quiet hearts. The earth beneath you is firm, ancient, patient. Wildflowers cluster in corners of rock, violet and yellow and white, delicate yet stubborn enough to thrive where winters bite hardest. Butterflies drift between them, their wings trembling in the breeze like prayer flags waiting to lift. Higher still, you pass a small stream spilling down the slope in silver ribbons. The water hums softly, threading between stones, shaping earth grain by grain with a patience that mirrors the mountains themselves. You cup your hands and drink. The cold stings your palms before filling your mouth. Bright as first snowmelt, clean as untouched air. When you swallow, the chill settles in your chest, like a memory of winter waiting to return. Ahead, the path narrows at a rise. You crest it slowly, and the valley unfolds beneath you again, wider than before. Houses like scattered seeds, towers like solemn trees, the river glittering, as though it carries slivers of morning sky within its current. Farther up the valley, another cluster of towers stands, smaller and distant, like a ghost village resting in shadow. Beyond them, mountains layer into horizon, ridge upon ridge, as if the world stretches forever. This is not a place built to impress. It is a place built to endure. You stand in stillness, wind brushing hair from your face, and for a moment, the world feels impossibly gentle. Snowmelt trickles, grass sways, a hawk circles. Clouds drift in slow procession. Time breathes like a living thing. Not hunting you, not fleeing you, simply existing beside you, shoulder to shoulder. There is a story whispered here, not in words but in air and stone. Strength need not be loud, endurance need not be hard, and guardianship can be as simple as remaining. The towers were never built to conquer, they were built to stay, and to stay is its own quiet courage. You walk further along the ridge and find a small chapel, weathered and humble, its wooden cross leaning, its walls soft from age and wind. Inside, candles flicker in still air, tiny flames trembling but unextinguished, reflecting on icons whose paint has faded but whose presence has not. A woman enters, head covered in a wool scarf, hands clasped not in urgency but in gratitude. She does not speak to the earth or the sky, but to something between, something that has known this village longer than any empire has known its own name. Her prayer is quiet, almost breath, and when she finishes, she touches the stone gently before leaving, like one greets an old friend before stepping back into the world. Outside, a shepherd leads his flock past, dog trotting faithfully beside him. The animals move slowly, hooves silent in grass, bells chiming like distant river song. The shepherd nods as you pass, not curious, not cautious, simply acknowledging another soul traveling through a morning that belongs to both of you. You know then that Ushguli is not a place one visits, it is a place one joins briefly. A pause in a life that often runs too fast for memory to settle. You descend the ridge as the sun climbs higher still, warming stone and wood, coaxing steam from rooftops where night dew rests reluctant to leave. A woman kneads dough in an open window, flour dusting her sleeves like frost. A boy rides bareback on a small horse, laughing as the animal tosses its head. Someone chops wood, each strike steady and sure, echoing through the valley like slow heartbeat. And throughout it all the towers stand in eternal vigil, watching not to judge but to witness, as though they are not here to protect humans from the world, but to remind humans they belong to it. You pass another tower, darker than the rest, its stones blackened by age or fire. Plants cling to its cracks, moss pads its base like soft wool. It leans slightly, yet holds firm, its weight balanced by time itself. You rest your palm against it once more, and this time you feel warmth from sun-dried stone, as though the tower carries heat from countless dawns and returns it gently to your skin. A whisper of wind passes between the buildings, a raven calls once more, a church bell rings faintly, and somewhere far off, thunder murmurs beyond the peaks. Not a threat, only nature clearing its throat. Storms come here, winters bite here. Life struggles here, yet nothing breaks. Not the mountain, not the towers, not the spirit that lives quietly between them. You walk the final stretch of path, and pause at the village edge. Beyond lies the world, full of motion, noise, urgency. But here, in this high cradle of stone and cloud, time has wrapped itself around you like wool, soft and sure, leaving you warmer than when you arrived. You inhale once more, cold air, glacial purity, grass and smoke and earth. Exhale, lighter, softer, steadier. And just before you turn to go, you glance back. The towers stand still, holding the horizon in patient hands, and you feel something settle in your chest. A quiet confidence, an old strength, a reminder that not all guardians roar, and not all monuments climb skyward. Some simply stand, and by standing they teach us how to remain. You walk on, carrying the mountain's breath in your lungs and its calm in your bones, and the world below waits, unaware it is about to greet someone who has stood in a place that does not measure time, but holds it. The spine beneath the desert. Before the sun rises, Wadi Rum is not yet desert, it is breath. A hush stretched over red sand like velvet, pulled across sleeping earth. The wind has not yet begun its long wandering. The heat still sleeps deep beneath stone. The dunes curve like the backs of great resting creatures, and the horizon glows faint as a coal waiting to wake. In this hour, before light becomes day, and shadow becomes shape, the desert is memory, an ancient seabed, dreaming of tides long gone, a cradle of continents, a place where silence is not emptiness but presence, thick, warm, eternal. And then light begins. It does not come quickly, it creeps, a pale whisper along horizon's edge, a slow spilling of gold into cool air. The dunes shift from violet to blush, to rust, and the stone pillars that rise from the earth like vertebrae of the world itself start to breathe color, fire waking in their hearts, shadows stretching gently along their sides. They call this desert the Valley of the Moon, but it might just as easily be called the Valley of Memory, for here, in the vast stillness, the earth remembers its shape before time learned how to measure itself, and rising from this sea of sand, the pillars, not towers carved by ambition, not monuments chiseled by hand, but the bones of mountains, the spine of the continent, upright guardians of the desert's ancient heartbeat. They do not speak, yet they have always been listening. Wind skims across their faces, tracing every curve and crack, each line a scripture of sun and sand and storm. These pillars were not built, they endured, sculpted not by tools but by patience, older than thought. The desert does not hurry its art. It lets time carve as it wills, grain by grain, whisper by whisper, until stone becomes story. Nomads have crossed here for thousands of years. Bedouin tribes who knew the desert not as barren, but alive. They read wind like scripture, sand like language. They called these pillars Jebel, mountains, but also Atad, pegs of the earth, anchors holding sky to ground, stakes pinning the world from drifting away. And when the first rays of dawn catch the highest peaks, light gathers there like prayer. Camels shift their weight, soft ankles pressing into the sand. A kettle rattles from a tent, metal striking metal in gentle music. Smoke rises in a thin ribbon, frankincense, cedarwood, coffee dark as night, and slowly the desert exhales. A guide steps into morning air, scarf wrapped loose, eyes half-lidded, accustomed to sun before it arrives. He does not hurry, nobody hurries here. Haste does not belong to the desert. The land teaches patience, and patience teaches survival. He kneels, palms pressed to sand. Not prayer, recognition, a greeting to the land that holds him, to the wind that carries his blood memory forward, to the stone pillars watching him the way stars watch night, quietly, endlessly, without judgment. In the stillness, you walk forward. Sand shifts underfoot, soft, whispering, warm though the sun has barely risen. With each step the air grows more real, the world sharpening around you in slow motion. The pillars loom nearer, red, gold, polished by millennia, rising like giants half buried, half asleep. To touch them is to touch time. You lay your fingers against stone cool as dawn breeze. Tiny grains cling to your skin. The surface is rough, but beneath it there is softness. The softness of patience, the softness of surrender to ages. No one carved these shapes. Wind did, sand did, time did. You imagine storms swirling across ancient plains, carving hollows, opening arches, smoothing edges where once there were jagged teeth. Flash floods roared here once, entire rivers surged through now silent canyons, cutting veins into the landscape like the hands of gods shaping clay, and when those waters dried the stone remained, as though the desert lifted its bones to the sky so the horizon would remember its own spine. A lizard scurries across rock. Tiny tracks mark the sand like delicate script. In the distance, a falcon glides, silent, deliberate, knowing exactly where the wind will hold it. A Bedouin child laughs somewhere unseen. Then the desert swallows sound again, not greedily, but gently, like a mother pulling a blanket around sleeping children. You wander along the base of the pillar, and shadow cools your skin. Wind hums low, as though passing through corridors only it can see. The stone curves above, a canyon wall tall as thought, textured by ages the way a face is textured by life. Lines of endurance, creases of patience. Every crack holds dust from centuries. Every groove has known rain only in brief miracles. Every ledge once held the shadow of a passing eagle or the print of a resting ibex. You tilt your head back, eyes tracing the stone upward until the sky swallows its peak. For a moment you forget the world below. Vision fills with only earth and sky, and you feel suspended between them. Light as breath, heavy as history. The desert is not empty. It simply refuses to rush toward meaning. Here, time is not a straight road. It is a circle of wind and sand and sun, returning each morning like a memory retold. The Bedouins say the pillars listen, not to voices but to hearts. They know who arrives with reverence, who arrives with fear, who arrives lost, and leaves found. Stories cling to these stones like incense to cloth. Once elders say, giants walked here, not creatures of myth, but mountains that once moved. And when they grew tired, they rested in this valley and turned to stone, choosing to remain and witness the world. Others say the pillars are the fingers of the earth reaching upward, holding the sky in place so it does not fall. Some whisper they are guardians of doors. Not doors you see, but doors you feel in the wind, in the breath before dawn, in the stillness after sandstorm. Whatever the story, each version carries the same truth. These stones are alive in the way mountains are alive, anchored, listening, remembering. A jeep engine hums far away, modern life passing like a brief wind. Its sound fades quickly, swallowed by silence vast enough to make machines feel temporary. You kneel and place your palm against sand warmed now by rising sun. Grains shift, tiny crystals catch light. The desert glitters, not loud like jewels but quiet like promises. The guide pours tea, steaming, sweet, fragrant with sage and cardamom. He hands you a cup without words. Hospitality here is not performance, it is breath. The only thing offered with condition in the desert is water, and even then only the thirsty know what it truly means. The tea is warm, sweet, calming. It tastes of earth and heat and stories told under starlight. When you drink, time slows again. Or perhaps time simply remembers itself. The sun climbs higher, the pillars blaze, shadows stretch long, and as heat rises, so does quiet. Not silence, but reverence. The desert does not demand awe, it invites it. And you find yourself breathing deeper, your thoughts thinning, your body loosening as though some thread binding you to urgency has been cut gently, cleanly, without loss. Here you are not small because the world is vast. You are small because the world is kind enough to hold you without needing to hear you speak. You close your eyes, wind brushes your cheek, sand shifts softly beneath you, and for a moment that stretches without breaking, you feel not like a visitor, but like part of the land, Another grain in a sea of ancient fire. Another footprint joining 1,000 years of footsteps. The pillars stand, unmoved, unmoving, alive in their stillness. You breathe, the desert breathes, and there is no difference between the two. And so the day deepens. The sun rises steadily, gathering strength, and the air shifts, not abruptly, but like a slow tightening of a silk ribbon around the land. Shadows pull inward, curling close to the bases of stone pillars. Heat settles across the sand like a vast invisible blanket. What was cool becomes warm. What was warm becomes burning. What was shadowed becomes precious. The desert hums, not with sound but with presence. Far off a caravan moves. Small at first, then clearer as heat waves soften their silhouettes. Camels tread with the rhythm of eternity, necks swaying, eyes half-lidded against the light. Their bells chime soft and slow, as if time itself is ringing. The riders sit tall and relaxed, wrapped in white cloth that mirrors the sky, breathing in patience, exhaling dust. No one hurries here. Haste in the desert is a kind of forgetting. Remembering requires stillness. A falcon lands upon a jagged peak. It watches. The desert watches with it. You walk again, steps measured, souls warmed by sand. Doors are unnecessary here. Every horizon is an invitation. Every rock face a page of history. Every valley a whispered story only wind can read. The stone pillars flank narrow passageways where sand gathers like ancient velvet. You follow one, feeling the canyon walls rise around you. High, silent, reverent. Light filters in from above, narrow as a blade at first, then widening in gentle bloom. Your footfalls soften, your breath grows slow. The walls close in, not to confine, but to carry you deeper into quiet, a quiet so profound it feels alive. Somewhere above, a bird's cry splits the stillness, sharp and fleeting, then silence again. A silence so full it feels like a sky inside your chest. From the rock, a low hum seems to radiate, not sound but sensation, as though the desert is speaking in the language of heat and breath and time. You lay a hand upon the stone. It is hot now, almost pulsing, like skin warmed by sunlight, like life beneath earth waiting to wake at nightfall. People once carved here, faint marks, ancient inscriptions half swallowed by time. They do not demand to be read, they ask only to be felt, to acknowledge that others stood here long before you and felt the same softness of air, the same weight of sky, the same awe that quiets thought into prayer. At the end of the passage, light bursts open into a wide expanse. You emerge into a bowl of sand and stone, the walls circling you like a colossal amphitheater made not by human hands but by earth breathing across millennia. A single acacia tree stands crooked in the sun, roots deep, branches sparse, leaves trembling in a heat-borne breeze. Beneath it lies shade, precious, thin, holy. You sit. The sand warms your palms. Your spine softens. Heat presses down, not harshly but insistently, as though asking you to surrender, to quiet, to listen, and you do. You listen, to nothing, and to everything. The guide returns, silent as shade. He kneels nearby, pours tea again. Steam curls upward, impossibly delicate in the vastness. He does not look at you. You do not need to speak. In desert stillness, language feels redundant. Hours pass, or maybe moments. Time here does not count itself in minutes. It counts in light, in heat, in the slow turning of shadow. The sun crosses its zenith, then begins its descent, and as it does, something shifts inside the pillars. Their gold deepens, their orange sets aflame, their shadows stretch across the desert floor like ancient script written in darkness. The air cools slightly, carrying with it the scent of stone and evening, and something older than both. The guide stands first. He gestures, not outward but upward. You follow his gaze. The first star appears before the sun has fully gone, a tiny diamond in the deepening blue. Then another, and another, until the sky gathers jewels like a queen robe at ceremony. Night approaches not quietly, but reverently. You walk back through the pillars, the air now velvet soft, the sand cool under bare feet. Every sound is magnified. A distant camel groan, the crunch of grain beneath your heel, the sigh of wind brushing against stone. A fire is lit near a low sandstone rise, flames licking upward in graceful arcs, smoke curling fragrant with desert herbs. You sit by the fire. Someone hums, not a song but a vibration, a tone older than melody. It blends with the crackle of wood, the whisper of sand, the breath of night. Food passes hand to hand. Bread, warm and charred, rice fragrant with spice, dates soft and honey sweet, tea darker now, richer. Stars multiply until the sky is not black but silver. Every constellation drawn in clarity, sharp enough to feel. The desert at night does not sleep, it reveals. You lie back, the sand a soft cradle beneath your spine. Above you, the pillars stand like dark ribs of the world, holding up the heavens, their silhouettes sharp against starlight, their presence steady, ancient, eternal. Here, in this vast stillness, the boundary between body and sky blurs, breath becomes wind, thought dissolves. You are not watching the desert, you are part of it. A grain of sand among many, timeless and small and infinite in equal measure. The fire dims, the air cools. A jackal calls in the distance, mournful, beautiful, alone and not alone. The desert answers in silence, and slowly sleep comes, not as escape, but as belonging. The earth holds you, the sky covers you, the pillars guard you, not fiercely, but faithfully, as they have guarded dreams for 10,000 years. In the final softness of waking consciousness, one thought drifts across your mind like wind across dunes. Even stone remembers. You close your eyes, the desert breathes. You breathe with it, and night carries you gently into itself. The Watcher in the Salt Wind. Before the sun lifts its face above the dunes, the world here is pale and motionless, a vast breath held by the desert itself. Night lingers not in darkness, but in softness, an ivory twilight brushed in silver, where the horizon blurs and sky and sand momentarily forget they are separate things. The white desert does not wake quickly, it rises into its own light, the way a memory rises in the mind, hesitant, gentle, belonging to another time. Wind travels first. A low whisper skimming across chalk and dust, testing the edges of morning. It does not rush, it knows the desert is listening. Then the light comes, quiet and deliberate. Milk-white sands take on hints of rose and amber, shadows curve gently under alien forms of stone. Shapes that might be cliffs, might be waves, might be sleeping creatures carved by eternity, lift from the darkness and settle into being. Their outlines glow faintly, not with heat, but with the last breath of the early moonlight, reluctant to surrender to dawn. And there, in the midst of endless whiteness, stands one shape taller than the rest, solitary, solemn, patient, a watcher, a sentinel carved not by human ambition, but by wind and sand in their slow and sacred labor. It does not look human, it does not need to. Its presence alone carries the suggestion of a figure, of a back straightened against time, of a face tilted toward eternity. Not guardian, not witness, something older than either word. Travelers first called it the stone sentinel, Bedouin once called it the silent brother, and some say the desert calls it nothing, for it has always been here, and language is a thing that arrived late. You step softly through powder-fine chalk that shifts like moon dust beneath your boots. The air is cool still, the sun has not yet warmed the bones of the land. Each breath tastes faintly of minerals and dryness, of a place where water once whispered but long ago forgot this earth. The world around you is a canvas made not of brightness but of silence. Silence so deep it feels physical, like a layer of air resting upon your shoulders, like a hand smoothing restless thoughts into sleep. The sentinel rises ahead, its edges smooth in some places, sharp in others, sculpted by centuries of restless wind. Its surface gleams faintly, as though salt and starlight fuse together to make stone. There are grooves like ribs, hollows like paused breaths, curves like ancient bones pushing through the surface of the world. Every inch of it seems to hum, as though something inside the stone waits, unhurried, unbothered by the slow drag of millennia. A falcon lifts from a distant ridge, wing beats silent, gliding along a current only it can feel. It circles once and vanishes into pale light, leaving behind nothing but the memory of motion. The desert accepts this without reaction. It accepts everything, it holds everything. It erases nothing, and still keeps nothing. A paradox held in chalk. You approach the sentinel, each step imprinting lightly in sand like fragile thoughts placed gently where only the wind will read them. The air shifts, a hush deepens, though it was silent already. It feels as though the world has narrowed to stone and sky, and you stand suspended between them, balanced like a grain of sand on the edge of breath. The sentinel towers above now. From a distance it was only a shape. Here, it is presence. Your fingers brush the stone, cool, then almost warm, like memory awakening under touch. The surface is uneven. Smooth swells polished by wind, tiny ridges etched by ancient storms, coarse grains that flake like pressed bone dust. If you close your eyes, you can feel the desert's history in the ridges, years, decades, centuries pressed into form. The wind shifts again, soft, low, steady. Not a gust, not a sigh, a hum, as if the air has found a voice and speaks in frequencies older than language. Nothing moves except sand, sliding, drifting, reshaping itself in ripples around your feet. There is no rustle of leaves, for nothing grows here. There is no rustle of leaves, for nothing grows here. There is no water to murmur. There are no insects to buzz. Even the sun rises silently. The world is so still that your heartbeat feels loud, and your breath becomes a metronome against eternity. You walk slowly around the base of the sentinel. From one angle, it resembles a robed figure kneeling. From another, it is a great beast at rest. From another still, it is simply stone, unshaped, unaimed, unconcerned with meaning, and yet meaning clings because humans bring it. The Bedouins tell old stories of stones like this. They do not call them gods, but they speak of spirits older than wind, of watchers who witness without judging, without moving, without ever needing to change shape to remain power. They say the desert does not forget, it only quiets its memories under layers of sand like soft blankets. You pause. The sky grows brighter. The desert shifts from pale rose to pearl to cream. Soon it will glow white, too bright to gaze at without narrowing your eyes. But now it is gentle still, shadowed softly, neither night nor day, held in the tender balance between. A breeze curls around the sentinel. The sand around its base flows and whispers. If you listen long enough, it sounds like breathing, not of the stone, but of the world, like the earth inhales and exhales in a rhythm too slow for humans to notice, except in rare moments like this. For a desert is not lifeless, it is simply patient. A memory rustles through you, perhaps not your own, something older. The sense that thousands of years ago, other feet stood here, other eyes traced the edges of this stone, other hearts beat quietly in awe of the land's untouched stillness. People walked here when caravans drifted between Nile and Oasis, when trade routes threaded secrets across continents, when stars were gods and the earth was a scripture waiting to be read in silence. And someone, long ago, must have stood where you stand and felt the same thought bloom inside their chest. This place breathes even when everything is still. A tiny dust devil whispers across the sand, swirling grains in a delicate spiral. It brushes the sentinel's shadow, pauses, collapses into itself. Even wind here knows when to bow. The sun crests the horizon fully now, and light changes everything, not violently, slowly, warmly, inevitably, as though the sky pours itself across the earth like milk over stone. The sentinel glows, not gold, white fire, a brilliance that does not burn but reveals. The desert floor brightens, shadows sharpen, silence thickens, warm as wool, heavy as sleep. And in that glow, the stone looks less like stone and more like something dreaming, not of movement but of permanence, of staying, of bearing witness as everything else rises, falls, and passes away. You rest your forehead lightly against the stone. It does not answer. It does not need to. Its silence teaches more than any voice could. You breathe in slow, salt, chalk, light, a trace of wind older than maps. You breathe out slow, and the desert keeps breathing with you. No footsteps disturb the horizon. No voices echo. No engines hum. Just wind, just light, just time learning how to stand still. And the sentinel stands, as it always has, through sandstorms, through centuries, through forgotten footsteps and vanishing nights, a shape meant not to be answered but to be heard without sound. The desert does not rush to noon. It rises to it slowly, like heat up a spine. As the sun climbs, shadows shrink to thin threads at the sentinel's feet, and the air thickens into stillness, so complete that even thought seems to move slowly within it. The light becomes a presence, not harsh yet, but certain, settling across the dunes like a soft white shawl, bright enough to quiet the mind, warm enough to lull it. You step back from the stone, and your feet press into chalk that feels powder soft, like sifted bone in moonlight. Every print you leave is shallow, temporary. The desert does not cling to footsteps. Nothing here is held tightly. Sand keeps only what serves it. The rest it releases to wind. A beetle crosses your path, its shell gleaming dark against pale ground. It walks with purpose, slow but steady. Each step a quiet testament that even in places that feel untouched by life, life persists. It leaves tiny trails behind, fragile maps that wind like script across the surface. Soon the breeze will erase them, but not before they speak of persistence. A Bedouin guide appears in the distance, his silhouette wavering in heat shimmer. His camel moves with the rhythm of dunes, swaying in a patience older than roads. He lifts one hand in greeting, not a wave, just a gesture of recognition, like a nod between those who have seen morning begin from the bones of the world. You return the gesture, no words rise. They aren't needed. Here silence communicates better than speech. He continues on, disappearing behind low chalk mounds shaped like sleeping beasts. Some formations resemble mushrooms, some sphinxes, some forgotten idols buried up to their necks in sand. Nature sculpted a gallery here, and then walked away without signing it, leaving the wind to do the labeling. The sun now stands high enough that the white sand glows as if lit from within, and the air wavers gently, making far stones appear to ripple like slow water. You walk again, guided not by path but by instinct. There is no right direction here. The desert does not punish those who wander, only those who refuse to listen. Your steps carry you to a place where the chalk rises in a series of rounded hills, smooth as carved ivory, curving like the backs of ancient creatures resting beneath a silent tide. You climb one, the slope soft beneath your feet, and when you reach the top, the world opens wider, an ocean, not of water, of petrified foam, of dunes frozen in mid-breath. A sea that once existed, remembered through stone, The desert stretches in all directions, white and infinite, horizon blurred by light. No lines, no edges, just expanse. In this space, scale dissolves. A stone a mile away looks close enough to touch, and your own body feels both immense and a speck, like a grain of salt in an endless bowl. Heat deepens, air stills, and you sit, settling onto warm chalk like settling into a bed carved by time. Your arms rest loosely on your knees. Your heartbeat slows to match the rhythm of the land. Slow, steady, unhurried. Nothing happens, and that is everything. In cities, stillness is absence. Here, stillness is abundance. The desert is not empty, it is full in a way noise can never be. Full of air, light, ancient breath. Full of patience. Full of things that do not ask to be seen or named. Hours drift without urgency. The sentinel stands where you left it, a fixed point in a world made to move. Shadows lengthen again, stretching like waking limbs. Light softens, slipping from white to honey to amber. The heat loosens its hold, lifting like a hand releasing a shoulder. Wind returns, first as a whisper, then as a voice. Grains of chalk dance across the ground, glimmering like powdered stars. They collect in little swirls, curl around rocks, flow down slopes in tiny rivers. The desert moves even when it rests. Everything is in motion, just slowly enough to let eternity pass unnoticed. By evening, the sky cools to lavender, and the first star trembles into existence above the sentinel's crown. You return to that stone, and it greets you not with change, but with presence. Its surface has warmed and cooled again, like breath. You rest your palm on it once more, and this time, it feels like the surface of a calm sea at dusk, holding light, giving warmth back to the air. A fire flickers in the distance, a Bedouin camp settling into night. Smoke rises in thin ribbons, curling above sand like incense rising to sky. The scent of roasted grain and desert herbs drifts faintly, carried far by cooling wind. You sit beside the sentinel, knees pulled close, palms resting on chalk, watching shadows melt upward as twilight deepens. Night arrives without hurry. It slides in, quiet, certain, complete. Stars appear one by one, and then all at once, filling the sky with more light than the sun ever could. A sky so dense with constellations, it feels like the heavens have leaned close to whisper secrets into the stones. The Milky Way becomes a pale river, echoing some ancient ocean that once lapped at this very ground. The sentinel stands dark against the glow, a black silhouette carved from night. You cannot see its details anymore, yet you feel it there, steady as breath. Its presence is comfort, its stillness a promise. Somewhere a flute plays, soft, wandering, notes rising like prayer. The melody drifts over dunes, reaching you as though carried not by wind but by memory itself. The sound does not intrude, it settles gently, like moonlight on water. You lie back on cool sand, body sinking into soft chalk, and the stars look close enough to touch. Silence thickens again, not empty but sacred, a silence that holds you as surely as earth and sky do. You breathe out, your body loosens. You become light as dust, vast as horizon. In this moment, the world does not need you to move, speak, or think. It only needs you to rest. And in the hush of night, you understand, the sentinel is not watching for danger, it is watching for stillness. For those who arrive willing to listen to a land that speaks in patience, it guards nothing but peace, and in doing so, it becomes peace itself. You close your eyes, stars pulse above, wind sings through chalk. The sentinel breathes beside you, not in lungs but in presence. The desert takes nothing from you, it only returns what you forgot you were. Quiet, small, eternal. And as sleep draws over you like desert night over stone, one final thought drifts like sand across your heart. Even silence can keep watch. The stones that spoke in echoes. Before morning, the jungle is not yet awake, it only dreams. A thin river of mist curls through the valleys, weaving between karst towers like a silver thread stitching earth to sky. The world here exhales slowly, and the air clings to your skin like breath from something ancient and alive. This is a land carved not by time alone, but by water, by memory, and by patience older than any story we tell. You stand at the riverbank, where green shadows rest against quiet water, and the first hint of dawn presses faint gold along the horizon. The Songkon River lies calm, dark, reflective, a quiet mirror carrying the jungle in its surface. Every leaf, every low branch dipping to sip at the current, every ripple from fish below looks like a secret half told. And ahead, rising from the mist like giants stirring from sleep, are the karst cliffs, stone pillars draped in emerald. Rising sheer from the riverbank, their flanks streaked with silver mineral veins, their crowns wrapped in vines and trees that cling as though the sky might carry them away. Somewhere inside those faces, caves breathe in the dark, millions of years old, deep as forgotten dreams, alive with the quiet pulse of earth. A cicada cries once, a thin thread of sound, then falls silent. The air thickens, the jungle listens. Dawn pauses at the threshold like a guest waiting for permission to enter. Then slowly, light arrives. Not in a blaze, but in a pour, warm amber spilling gently across the water. The karsts glow in soft layers, first a pale silver sheen, then moss green, then the faintest blush of morning gold. Shadows stretch and soften. Mist curls along cliff contours, revealing what eyes could not see just moments before. Faces, not carved, not imagined, emerged. Eyes shaped by dripping centuries. Brows arched by rivers older than maps. Lips formed by the collapse of stone, soft and solemn, as if the earth sculpted watchers to see itself more clearly. Some faces stern, others serene, some tilted skyward, others gazing into the river's black heart as though searching for something they once lost. The villagers call them Inuida, the stone people. They say the cliffs listen, they say echoes hear remember, they say the mountain keeps its voice until someone deserving hears it. You step into a narrow wooden boat. Its woven bamboo hull creaks softly under weight. The water accepts it without insult. The boatman, quiet, old, but with eyes that carry the calm of someone who has seen rivers in flood and famine, nods once. No greeting needed. In this place, silence is courtesy. He pushes off. The boat glides. Water parts without sound. Mist lifts in slow strands as though reluctant to lose its hold. You drift toward the karsts, and as the stone faces loom closer, they do not feel frightening. They feel familiar, like guardians, like elders watching children play from the edge of memory. The boatman traces a gentle arc toward the shadow of a towering cliff. He lifts a bamboo pole and taps the rock once. The echo rolls across the river valley like a second breath. Deep, round, older than voice, softer than thunder. The mountain answers slowly, as though waking. Tap, pause, and then the world hums. Not music, not speech, resonance, the kind that moves through ribs and settles in bones. The morning air thickens, and the jungle holds its breath again, like each leaf honors the sound, bowing in dew-soaked stillness. He taps again, lighter this time. The echo returns, higher, faster, fluttering like wings against cave walls. You do not hear a voice, you feel one. Stone carries memory the way river carries silt, grain by grain, shape by shape, until time becomes landscape. Every echo here is not just sound, it is history rebounding through air, shaped by empty chambers beneath mountains, where limestone drips like candle wax and still pools reflect darkness untouched by sun for millions of years. The boat drifts into cavern mouth. Coolness wraps around you, light fades into a gentle indigo. Stalactites drip in slow rhythm, droplets forming, trembling, falling into black water that holds no reflection. The walls shimmer faintly in torchlight, wet as skin, breathing moisture into the air. A faint guide rope lines the cave, slick from night mist. Water laps quietly against stone, a heartbeat against cathedral walls, formed not by faith, but by gravity and dissolving earth. Stalactites lean over you like the ribs of ancient beasts. Stalagmites rise like kneeling figures in silent prayer. Stone curtains ripple as if frozen in the act of moving. Deeper still, chambers open like lungs. The river narrows, the air cools further. Your breath grows quieter, matching the echo-soft pulse of the cave. And then, stillness. The oar stops. Water rests. Sound becomes a thin thread stretched tight across darkness. The boatman speaks for the first time. A whisper. Lek, Neng. He strikes the paddle gently against the side of the boat. The cavern answers, not loudly, but deeply, as though each layer of limestone takes a turn sending its version back. One echo long, one short. One low, one trembling like a memory spoken too late. You close your eyes. The sound returns through time, not space. A ripple not just around you, inside you. Voices. No. Something slower than language. Something Earth knows before people learn to listen. When you open your eyes again, a faint light glimmers ahead, the mouth of the cave widening into dawn's second gift of day. The boat glides forward, out of darkness into green, where vines hang in curtains and ferns breathe mist. Dragonflies hover like shards of sky. Birds break silence gently, as if they know speaking loudly might wake something best left dreaming. Here the karsts cluster, rising like ancient pillars above jungle canopy. Their shapes blur into each other, faces merging with ridges, mouths forming and dissolving with the angle of light. A breeze stirs, warm, scented with river and leaf, carrying the faintest hint of salt from distant seas that once swallowed this land before the continents breathed apart. You land on a bank where moss grows thick and soft. A narrow path winds upward between roots and dripping vines. You climb. The jungle is not loud, not yet. It is expectant. Leaves glisten under rising sun. Branches sway. Water trickles down limestone channels in thin silver threads. Mosquitoes drift lazily through golden slats of light. Butterflies flash pale yellow, soft as rice paper. The air tastes green, alive, humid, full. You reach a clearing. Stone rises before you, towering, streaked with age, carved by rain and time into a face half-formed, eyes closed, lips parted slightly, as if exhaling. Moss trails across its brow like forgotten hair. Roots coil at its base like ancient fingers clutching the earth. You stand before it, and something inside you stills. The forest hushes, birdsong pauses, even wind seems to hold back. Not fear, reverence, a sense that you have stepped into a moment held by time, not in it. You raise your hand and touch the stone, warm where sunlight kissed it, cool in its hollows, alive in stillness. A low vibration hums beneath your palm, not movement but memory, and the face seems to breathe. Not in motion, in presence. As though it has watched rivers rise, jungles bloom, winds carry centuries, and human footsteps come and go like dew. A drop of cave water falls from a distant stalactite hidden in canopy. It hits the ground like a heartbeat. Your breath slows, shoulders soften, the echo from the cave still lives in your bones. Wind rises, soft first, then deeper. It moves through trees, brushes stone, carries a note almost like voice, not a word, an echo of one. And you understand these stones do not speak to ears, they speak to quiet. To stillness, to those willing to stop long enough for the world to finish its sentence. You sit before the stone, its face shadowed by morning light. Water trickles nearby, steady, ancient. Dragonflies skim air. A frog sings low, then stops, as if remembering silence matters more. For a long while, you say nothing, because here, silence is not absence, it is language. The face watches, the jungle breathes, you breathe, and the world remains very, very old, and very, very gentle. Time stretches, not in length but in depth. The jungle brightens with day, yet feels no need to hurry into it. Light filters through leaves like water through silk, scattering green fire across the clearing. Somewhere above, a hornbill beats heavy wings, each flap a deep, hollow thrum that seems to echo through the stone beside you. You rise and continue along the path. It narrows, hugging the limestone base, winding up in soft ascents and careful steps. Ferns brush your calves, roots flex beneath soil. Somewhere in the undergrowth, something, perhaps a small monkey, shifts, then goes still again, as if to avoid disturbing whatever ancient thought lingers in this valley. The river is always close. You hear it before you see it, a soft, low rush, like whispered speech spoken into cupped hands. When it comes back into view, it is dappled with sunlight, surface broken by drifting leaves and gentle eddies. A kingfisher flickers blue above it, a spark of color skipping across emerald air. The karsts rise on both sides now, towering like immense guardians. Their faces soften and sharpen with each shift of angle, each movement of cloud. Some look half-turned toward you, others face the sky or the water, never quite settling into form, but always hinting at intention, as if the stone remembers the pressure of ocean tides, the burden of coral reefs, the weight of ancient rain, and in remembering, takes the shape of memory itself. You run your fingers along limestone ridges as you pass. They feel like fossilized waves, because once, long ago, they were. These mountains were born of oceans swallowing time, the world rearranging itself with slow breath. Every grain of this stone has traveled through sea and bone, through silence and pressure and darkness. Perhaps that is why echoes here feel alive. They remember vastness. A cave mouth appears ahead, low and dark, guarded by hanging vines and dripping moss. The air spilling from within is cool, carrying faint mineral sweetness, and something else. Something ancient and deep, like the breath of a world still forming. You step inside. Light thins, narrowing into delicate rays caught on dust. Water beads fall from stalactites in slow metronome cadence. The cave swallows sound, but not all of it. Some echoes cling to the air, as if waiting for footsteps, for a voice, for a heartbeat to match. You whisper, not words, just breath turned soft, and the cave returns it, not as repetition, but as answer. Different tone, slight delay, a reply, not a reflection. A pulse moves through the stone, a long, low vibration. You exhale, and stone exhales back. Your body sways slightly, your breath deepens. In this hush, you are not visitor or observer. You are part of the conversation, slowed to the pace of dripping limestone, of shifting earth, of water carving stories in dark places. When you step back out, the sun has dipped lower, softening edges of leaves and stone. The heat has gentled. Cicadas begin their long drone, the jungle's evening prayer. Shadows stretch long and thin across the ground. Light gathers gold at the crowns of trees and fades into blue beneath them. The air smells of wet bark, rich earth, and the faint spice of wild blossoms that open only when heat withdraws. A narrow ledge leads to a high perch overlooking the valley. You climb, slowly, carefully, palms braced against cool rock, shoes slipping slightly on damp stone. When you reach it, the world spreads beneath you like a map drawn in green and limestone. Mist, returned, drapes itself across peaks like silk shawls. The river glimmers between them, thin as silver thread. Fireflies spark into being, one by one, until they drift like lanterns shaken loose from unseen hands. Night comes not in darkness but in glow. The karst faces shift again, masked in moon blue. They no longer look ancient, they look awake. Eyes deep, cheeks hollow, lips parted as if speaking into the night. Not loud, not urgent, simply present. delivering centuries one breath at a time. You sit, legs folded, hands resting lightly on earth. Silence gathers, but it is not empty silence, it is layered. Water breathing in caves unseen, leaves whispering secrets overhead, owls gliding on velvet wings, monkeys murmuring in sleep, a distant splash, fish, or perhaps stars falling into river, and beneath it all, the stone hums. Not sound, sensation, not movement, memory. Heat leaves the air, coolness settles on your skin, your shoulders soften, your body sinks into stillness. You feel the universe expand and contract around you with the gentle rhythm of existence. Not loud, not grand, simply undeniable. A faint breeze rises, bringing scent of wet moss and night lilies. It brushes your cheek like a hand smoothing worry from a brow. Fireflies dance closer, tiny constellations teasing your fingertips. Far above, clouds drift like slow thoughts across a sky filling with stars. You close your eyes. You do not fall asleep, you drift, into stillness, into breath, into something older than language. And in that quiet, deep as a cave echo, soft as moth wings, you hear it, not with ears but with the space inside your chest where silence settles. Be still long enough, and the world remembers you. You breathe, stone breathes, river breathes, and the jungle holds you, as it has held every sound, every echo, every life that passed through this valley of stone-born time. You open your eyes once more. The night is gentle, the world is vast. The karst faces watch without judgment, without expectation, simply being, as you simply are. Nothing demands anything here, nothing hurries, nothing forgets, and in that knowing, peace settles, soft, like moss gathering in a hidden cave. You rise only when your heart feels ready, steps slow, breath even, mind quiet. The jungle does not say goodbye, it never needs to, because places like this do not let go, they simply wait, patient as stone for the next echo to return. And when you walk back toward river and night, and the boat waiting like a cradle on water, the voices of the karsts travel with you, not as sound, but as stillness. A stillness that listens, a stillness that remembers, a stillness that echoes. The gate where clouds rested. Before dawn reaches the mountains of Toyama, the world lives in a softness beyond waking and before memory. The peaks sleep beneath a blanket of drifting cloud, and the sky is a pale breath preparing to speak. Mount Tate rises there, one of Japan's holy three, where pilgrims have walked for 1,000 years and prayers hang in mist like unspoken words waiting to settle. High on its flank, where forests thin and stone meet sky, stands a gate, a torii-gyo not built to guard a shrine of wood or gold, but to bless the space where heaven brushes the earth. It rises alone, silent, unmoved by wind or winter, a frame through which clouds pass as though entering a dream. At this hour, there is no sound of boots on pebble paths, no rustle of travelers' coats, only the hush of mountain air, cool and thin, brushing across your face like fingers dipped in snowmelt. Pines shift softly below, their needles catching the faintest silver of approaching day, and above, the torii-gyo waits, not as symbol or barrier, but as invitation. You take a breath. The air tastes of stone and cedar, of first frost and distant river. It carries the quiet patience of centuries, the kind only mountains know. Each step you take toward the gate is slow, deliberate, respectful. The mountain does not rush, and neither do you. Mist curls around your ankles, weaving over the worn path. The stones are chilled beneath your soles, slick where night dew clings. The torii-gyo rises taller with every step, not towering, not imposing, simply present, as though it has been here longer than thought, longer than language, longer than the world's need to name its sacred things. A single crow calls once from somewhere unseen. The sound stretches, then dissolves into silence, leaving the mountain wrapped again in breathless stillness. You reach the gate and place your hand gently on its wooden pillar. It is cool, smooth in some places, rough in others, weathered by snow, polished by wind, touched by countless pilgrims whose dreams and burdens brushed the grain. The wood does not speak, yet it listens. You step beneath the arch. The world does not change, yet everything feels different. The air grows clearer, as though clouds part inside your chest as well as sky. The space beyond the torii is still mountain path, still stone and pine and mist. But you feel a shift, not outward but inward, like stepping from waking into another kind of waking, one where presence sharpens, where breath becomes deliberate and quiet. Clouds glide past your shoulders as though bowing in passing. The sky brightens, first lavender, then silver, then the faintest touch of rose. Peaks appear in the distance, white crests emerging from a sea of rolling cloud. You stand above the world now, where earth ends and sky begins without a line dividing them. A monk once said of this place, "Climb not to conquer height, but to remember it lives inside you." And here, with clouds brushing the gate, with wind whispering against sleeves, you understand. The mountain is not climbed, it is entered, like a temple without walls, where prayer is breath, and silence is prayer's answer. Below, rivers run toward unseen villages. Forests spread in green waves. The sea lies somewhere beyond horizon, unseen but certain. And here, in the center of stillness, a single gate stands witness, not watching over what passes through it, but honoring the act of passing. Your fingers trail along the crossbeam. You feel warmth now, not from the wood, but from light. The sun lifts slowly, touching ridge after ridge, washing the gate in gentle gold. Shadows stretch behind you. Air warms just enough to soften breath. Wind rises, not harsh, but with meaning. It pulls softly at your coat, threads through hair, carries scents of pine and far snowfields. A single leaf dances in the air, spinning once, twice, then falling into stillness again. A pilgrim arrives behind you, quiet steps, soft exhale. An old man, walking stick in hand, bowing slightly to the gate before passing through. His face is lined, not with strain but with serenity. He does not meet your eyes. Here, glances are not needed. Presence is greeting enough. He stands beside you, both of you facing a world turning slowly gold. The two of you breathe in unison, without intention, lungs opening to the same air, hearts easing into the same silence. No conversation follows. The mountain does not ask for words. In time, he bows again, to the horizon, to the sky, perhaps to something within himself, and continues onward, steps steady, posture humble, fading slowly along the ridge trail until mist receives him. The light strengthens. Peaks glow like polished bone beneath snow. Clouds shimmer in shifting gold. The gate stands still, its frame now bright, its shadow now sharp and defined, and in its stillness, nothing happens, and yet everything arrives. A truth settles here, gentle as morning. This gate does not open to somewhere. It opens to now, to the breath you just took, to the quiet you carry, to the sky that has always waited above you, patient and vast. You step through the torii once more, not returning from sacred to ordinary, but recognizing there is no difference. The path is still the path. The mountain remains mountain. Only breath has changed. Only heart feels lighter. Only you have softened into the world, instead of walking above it. The wind sighs. The clouds drift. The gate stands, unmoving, unbroken, unburdened, and you walk down the trail slowly, footsteps soft against stone, spirit resting like mist on morning air. The mountain does not shrink behind you. It remains, always just a breath away. And the gate watches, not as guardian, but as reminder. Heaven is not elsewhere. It is wherever you walk gently enough to see it. The teeth that bit the sky. Before dawn reaches the Tian Shan, the mountains breathe in darkness slow as winter sleep. The world here does not wake quickly, it unfreezes, loosening its grip on night one crystal at a time. Above the snowline, peaks invisible in shadow wait for the sun like ancient beasts waiting to lift their heads from dream. Silence hangs heavy, a cold so still it feels like glass, about to crack beneath the first touch of light. In that silence, wind moves first, not harsh, not hungry, just present. A low stir slithering along the ridge, brushing needles of high pines, scattering frost from bare rock. The breath of height, the whisper of altitudes where sound thins and only endurance speaks. Down in the lower slopes, where grasslands spread like sleeping oceans, a pale blue seam appears on the horizon. It rises gently, soaking into sky, pushing back darkness with patience rather than force. Stars fade slowly, reluctant to loosen their hold. Thin clouds drift like worn silk, catching the faintest silver. Then, as though someone is lifting a lantern behind the earth, gold edges form along the crest of the world. The mountains reveal themselves. Not softly, but with dignity. Ridges like serrated blades cutting into morning, faces of stone scarred by ice, peaks standing shoulder to shoulder as if guarding something older than memory. And there, jagged and unwavering against the sky, are the stones. They do not rise like monuments, smooth and shaped. They jut like teeth, broken, ancient, unyielding. Basalt spires, fluted by wind, black rock glinting faint beneath ice, edges sharpened over millennia by frost, by avalanche, by the slow grind of glaciers that carved this world before names existed. They look like the earth decided once, long ago, to bite upward, to gnash at the heavens, and then froze mid-motion, jaws locked in a snarl of stone. Locals call them Tao Tisi, the teeth of the mountain. Some say they mark a place where the sky once fell, and the earth held it up with jaws of stone. Others believe mountains here were born of dragons curling under the land, and these spires are their bones pushing through the surface as they turned in their sleep. Scholars speak of uplift, tectonics, fault lines and erosion. The mountains do not correct them, they do not confirm them either. Truth here is layered, like ice in a glacier, each century a thin line stacked upon the last, and the stones wait within it, patient. You begin the ascent, snow crunches beneath your boots, crisp and deliberate. Each exhale billows in the cold air, disappearing into the breath of the mountain. Pine sap scents the wind, sharp and clean. Above you, ravens ride thermal drafts, black wings carving circles in the pale sky. They do not call, there is no need. Their presence alone is sound. The path grows steeper. Grass gives way to rock, stone gives way to ice. The world narrows to white and gray, to heartbeat and breath and the slow, patient rhythm of step after step. There is no hurry. Mountains punish pace, not distance. Here, strength is measured not in power but in presence, in how long you can stand in quiet without resisting it. The ridge draws closer, the teeth rise, sharp spires, clustered like broken crowns. Frost glitters along their edges, catching the rising light, turning each point into a blade of fire for a brief, impossible moment. You reach the first of them. It towers above, wider than any tree trunk, jagged as fractured metal, cold as old iron. You rest your palm against it. The stone is freezing, frozen not just by temperature, but by time. Beneath your skin you feel nothing, and yet everything. The weight of millennia, the stillness of epochs, the slow heartbeat of mountains that never needed to race. Wind rises, snow drift, silence deepens, like a breath held inside the world. A hawk screams somewhere far above, a single sharp note, swallowed almost instantly by space. The sound feels like a reminder. There are no walls here to carry echo, only sky, and still the teeth stand, unmoved by time or weather or people. Not symbols, not warnings, simply existence in its most unshaped, unbending form. You move between the stones. Their shadows fall long and blue, stretching across snowfields. The cold bites your cheeks, but not cruelly, simply honestly. Mountains do not pretend softness. They offer only truth, and truth can be sharp. Higher still, you climb. Ice crunches underfoot. The air grows thin, edges crisp as knives. Breath comes slower, thoughts quiet. All attention becomes presence. When you reach the highest cluster, the world falls away beneath you. Valleys roll like frozen waves. Ridges slice across the horizon. Clouds trail like white smoke through deep blue air. And the sun, no longer gentle, lights every peak with a fire the cold cannot extinguish. The teeth jut here like the ribs of a world half buried, half born into sky. Frost clings to them like silver veils. Wind carves songs through the gaps, low, mournful, like flutes carved from winter. You sit, not to rest, but to witness. Your body eases into stillness. Your breath slows. The world holds you as though you are another stone among stones. Time stretches, not forward, outward. You are not waiting for anything. You are simply here. And the mountain approves. The sun climbs. Light strengthens, then softens again as thin clouds drift across it, like veils drawn by unseen hands. Each shadow paints the mountains differently, sometimes fierce, sometimes ancient, sometimes almost sorrowful in their loneliness. Stories say these stones once shook the sky, that gods sharpened lightning on them, that storms were born in their fractures. Older stories say nothing at all, only reverence spoken in silence, the way travelers bow without thinking upon seeing them. Snow begins to fall. Not in flurries, in slow deliberate flakes, wide and soft. They land on your coat, on your knees, on the stone beside you, and vanish instantly. Heat from the mountain's breath? Or from your own? It doesn't matter. Meaning here does not cling to one answer. You stand and walk further along the ridge. The world narrows again. Boot on snow, wind in ears, heart steady, breath white and fleeting. Beneath your feet the mountain shifts slightly, a groan deep below. Ancient plates adjusting as if in sleep. You pause. The sound passes. Silence fills in the shape it left behind. At the far end of the ridge sits a single stone, taller than a man, sharper than any blade forged by hand. It leans slightly forward, as if caught mid-bite. Wind cuts around it in a circle, carving spirals in snow. You approach, and the air feels different. Not colder, not warmer, simply heavier with presence. You rest your hand upon it. For a moment, nothing exists but cold stone and warm blood, and where they meet, time folds inward. You feel ice ages pass, rivers shrink, glaciers grind across continents, herds cross plains where city lights now glow, stars burn and fade, and new ones rise. Not visions, just echoes, ripples of time carried in stone. Wind lifts snow around you, the mountain exhales, the world stands perfectly still. This is not a place of fear, it is a place of truth. Mountains do not roar to be heard, they stand to be understood. When you finally turn to descend, you do not feel smaller, you feel steadier, like a stone warmed by sun, but still stone. Steps lead downward slowly, like returning from sky to earth. Pines appear again, dark and fragrant. Snow thins into frost-laced grass. Water trickles from somewhere hidden, melt finding its way down the bones of the world. At the base you look back. The teeth bite the sky still, unblunted, unbroken, uncaring, and you understand, they are not reaching upward, they are holding the sky in place. Not defiance, not hunger, duty, quiet, eternal duty. Clouds drift behind them, light softens, air warms faintly. You inhale once more, cold air, clean air, high air. and begin the long walk down the mountain, leaving nothing behind but the shape of your breath in the wind. The stones remain, watching, not to be worshipped, not to be feared, simply to exist, and in existing, to remind you, strength can be stillness, endurance can be silence, and the earth remembers every quiet step. Thank you for wandering these quiet edges of the world with me. If this journey brought you peace, please like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from and what time it is there. Your presence keeps these forgotten places breathing in the night. Until next time, may stillness travel with you.